Hey, it's Aiden with Lead Freak. Want to ask you a question. Are you noticing that it's a lot harder to prospect from a B2B perspective and it's getting more difficult all the time? Well, if you're like me, you're noticing a lot of changes. Things like SMS rules and regulations compliance being a lot tighter, email being very compliant and compliance issues, and now even phone organizations now making sure that you have lists that have people opted in. So just having a list to call people is not allowed in some organizations. So it's all kind of changing. And the question is does it go back? Or does it stay this way? Who knows? But what I do know is that if we're still using old ways, it won't open new doors. And if we're just relying on traditional walking in the door, traditional maybe phoning, maybe emailing, if we're just using those methods, depending on the industry you're in and the part of the world you're in, it might work better in some areas than others. But what I do know is that it's becoming more and more of a challenge. It's becoming more and more of a challenge because not only is technology disrupting things, but people are adopting those technologies and they're focused on other things. So they don't answer calls now that they might have 10 years ago. If they don't recognize the number, most of the time they don't collect it. SMS, if they haven't opted in and said yes I want SMS, that's now against the law. Email is like that depending on the country you're in. You have to have permission, and if you do market to them and email it to them, it has to be a subject line, the ability to opt out, and you can get in trouble for spamming. You can prospect and say, hey, are you the person in charge of? But depending on where you are, those regulations stop the benefit and the ability to prospect effectively. So we need to look at new ways. We need to get a new mindset, a paradigm shift, and we need to start looking at other ways, if we're not already, on how we can do this to grow our business. Most of us, many of us didn't grow up with technology, so it's very intimidating. We don't know what to do. And so I'm here and we are here to try to have this show, this podcast, the information we share to make your world a little easier. That is our purpose. That's what we're trying to do. All right, today I want to talk to you about your online prospecting approach, your B2B prospecting approach. Now, in the last video, I talked about the core four, the primary four, and if you remember, those were warm leads, cold outreach, social media content, and paid ads. But when you are reaching out to somebody, one of the things I'm a firm believer in, and unless you have a website that's very similar to a landing page, and there are some crossovers, is you don't want to lead someone to a website. And the reason for that is your website, a website, is really nothing more than a big brochure. And when I used to do cold calling in the truest sense of walking in and seeing someone cold, it didn't take me long to realize that giving them my catalog was completely a waste of time. Maybe give them a piece of paper on one thing. Hey, I want to talk to you about this. This is something that you might find of interest or what have you. That's what a landing page is. A landing page is like one thing, right? You're talking to one person, you're asking them to do one thing, whatever that one thing is. It might be to download an ebook, it might be to sign up for a webinar, it might be to book a meeting, whatever it is. But you want to lead them to do and ask them to do one thing. Now, back in the day when I used to then finally get a meeting with someone, I sat in front of them, and once a relationship was built, I would hand them my catalog, and many times they'd look through and go, "Oh, I'm interested in that. Oh, I'm interested in that." Right? And sales started to grow, and the relationship started to build, and they started to open up, and they were more receptive to all different things you sold. But if I gave them the catalog, I knew that went in the garbage, and 99% of the times, right? Or it went on their desk and they never looked at it. So we want to lead them to a landing page, but before they get to the landing page, we have to do some things to get them there. So that's what we're talking about today. So, as Grant Cardone says, if someone doesn't know you, know who you are, they don't remember you, they can't buy from you, right? Obscurity is your greatest obstacle, right? Obscurity is your problem. Obscurity is my problem. And we need to create awareness in the marketplace. So how do we do that? Well, in the internet world, in the world of online marketing, in the world uh, of social media, we do that by we do that by content. Now, content is a chore. Now there is ChatGPT now, and it makes things easier, but I see that going to really impact and kind of almost probably um, nullify blogs, because do you really want to read a blog that was created by a robot that didn't take any time? I see that being something down the road, but what we want to do though is we want to create content, whether or not it's blogs or social media, webinars, interactive videos, interactive Zoom meetings, things like that, um, retargeting, pay-per-clicks, ebooks, lives. These are all ways to create awareness. And if you're not familiar with all those things like retargeting and pay-per-clicks and things like that, we'll talk about those down the road. But you need to do, you really should do, is have some type of a create an awareness plan. Now, maybe you don't like writing articles and you don't want to do blogs, then don't. Maybe you're not great with social media and all that stuff, then don't. Maybe you like to do webinars, or you like to do videos, or you like to pay for ads for retargeting, pay-per-click, things like that. Um, Start with what you're comfortable with and what you know, or you can learn it very quickly. But having all of these just makes sense, right? You're going to cast a wider net instead of fishing with one hook, right? You can fish with a net. You're going to get more fish, more leads, the wider the cast, the net you cast. So creating awareness is important. Now, there's very there you creating awareness, creating content, just posting it can have it can create goodwill in the marketplace. It's still worth to do it, but having a strategy that you're going to lead them to something is really what the best strategy is. I think it's Seth Godin. All he ever did was just lead everyone, and all he's ever done is, from what I understand, is just led them all to his blog, and they sign up, and they're all to his blog, and you sign up, and because when you capture the information, when someone gives you their phone number, their email address, whatever, and says, yes, here's my information for this piece of content, or here's my information so I can get this and learn this, what have you, a dialogue happens. You now own that customer. You don't have to pay to get them. You don't have to borrow them from somebody else. You've done a lot of hard work to get that. And so you want to lead people to, a capture page, not your website, because your website, as I said, is like a big brochure, a catalog. Lead them to a landing page, a webinar, something where they only have to do one thing. Like maybe it's just watch the video, maybe it's download the ebook, whatever it is. But there's lots of ways you can do this. So web forms, chat, surveys, chat box on your website, all these things. These are all ways to capture information and get that information, and that's what you really want to do. So let's look and think about, how can you capture information. And so the best way to do that is create your content. And then when you do a social media post, as example on Instagram or LinkedIn or what have you, in the description, in that, have lead them to a link where they click the link, and it leads them and carries on from the awareness. So if your social media post is about if your social media post is about how to improve indoor air quality when you're cleaning, as your cleaning company, then when they go to the landing page, have something that they can download that enhances that. Maybe it's a video that walks them through how to achieve that goal. Maybe it's an ebook. Maybe it's an infographic. It could be anything that's going to then enhance that. So now they've given you their information. They're getting more content. They're going deeper with you on that particular thing. That is a great way to think about it. What you're trying to do is you're trying to do lead generation and capture their information so that you can prospect to them, right? You want to lead generation, capture them, prospect. And this is the one of the best ways to do that. Now, the other thing is, once you get them, and once they download the ebook or they get that content and they do a deeper dive, they have signed up with you on a deeper dive, a more intimate conversation, more in-depth information on a particular topic. So if that topic is cleaning and indoor air quality, then you want to educate them with further information, further emails, further blogs, campaigns, and all these things around that subject and things familiar to that subject. So as an example, you don't want to all of a sudden talk to them about how to make floors shiny when they've just signed up and they're interested in improving indoor air quality. You want to take them down that road maybe, but in the beginning, you want to expand about indoor air quality, and then how's different ways to improve indoor air quality, and then maybe you lead them down the road to you making sure your floor pads and your floor finish combine so that the floor pads don't scrape the floor finish off and create powdering, right? So that's where you would lead them down eventually, but not just all of a sudden, hey, we do floor care and we create shiny floors. If they've signed up for that, so think of that. But drip marketing, prospecting, a journey, where are you taking them? And you do that through email campaigns and having a system in place as to where you're going to take them. And so educate and engage, right? So if someone has clicked something, if someone has watched something, then the engagement comes in with a prospecting one-to-one approach. So maybe you phone them and leave a message, say, hey, I noticed you downloaded the ebook. Do you have any questions? There's also another thing that goes with it that we don't tell everybody about. May I send that to you? What have you, right? That is a gentle way to engage with them. They downloaded the ebook, but you have the lost chapter, whatever. There's different things you can do. So think about that, educate and engage. And then you want to track and measure, right? You want to know who to reach out to. The whole reason you're doing this is to capture information, to engage with someone and get them into your world. And then you need to know who is most interested. So if you get 100 people that sign up, probably 50, 60, 70%, maybe 80% are going to get the ebook and not think about you again for the next month or two. And they're not even going to open up the emails and they're not going to do anything. But you still send that content because they opted in, and now you're going to be still in front of them once a week or whatever it is. And they're going to go, oh, and they're going to remember you, right, with your email marketing campaign, but they're not ready to buy. They're not ready to engage with you. But you've got their information. They are potential. Right? There's potential there. But the ones that are opening, clicking, downloading, watching, viewing, you need to know who they are. And that's very easily done now with programs like LeadFreak and others. So whatever you're using, make sure you're understanding who are the people that are ready. Who's the one that is most likely going to say yes if you were to ask them out on a date, right? There's people that would say no, and there's people that are probably going to say yes. So who are they, and identify them, and then reach out to them and a one-to-one basis, which is your prospecting, right? So you want to cast a wide net and then feed them in, and then your costs, your hard costs, like your sales rep costs and your phoning costs and your email costs and your one-to-one costs, the time you spend to reach out to that person, is you have a higher likelihood of return on investment with that. And finally, you want to connect and convert. So you got to recognize that you got to continue it, and you got to reach out to them. And then when you reach out to them, you got to convert them. And depending on what you're doing, the easiest way to convert somebody is to, number one, get them something free, and then give them something cheap, right? So it's a big thing to get someone to sign up for a free ebook and say, hey, I have a $10,000 coaching program, right? But hey, I have a $49. We have a $49 a course on how to actually put sustainable cleaning in your facility and get LEED certification points, whatever. Right? This is what we have. And so it goes, oh, okay. And they sign up for that. Right. And then in that, they're going to find out they have more problems. Oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? And then you have as Russell Brunson calls it, and others, a value ladder. You take them up the ladder. Right. So eventually you want to clean their whole facility. Eventually you want to be their coach, whatever it is, right? You take them up the ladder. And that is just having consistency and a focus on who your customer is and speaking to that customer, and all the content you create, all the engagement and everything you do is geared towards that one customer. So it's important that you recognize from the last videos the core four, but you need to get the core four, that when you get the prospect, when you get the lead, you have a system in place that you capture that information, and then you recognize that not everyone is going to be ready to buy right now. Very few people get married on the first date, right? They usually get married after a year or so of many, many, many dates, and those dates become more intimate. You go from coffee to dinner and things like that. It's not a lot of difference, right? It's a relationship that expands and grows. So I hope you found this of value. If you have any questions, anything, comment, leave a comment, and feel free to reach out. We've got our contact information there. I'm Aiden Rigg. I hope you found this of value, and I'll see you in the next session.